Hi, I'm Tony Soares. I'm going to do a quick clip here on how to cut and cure arrowweed. These are great for arrows and atlatl darts. Harvested green, or you can harvest it dead stand. It grows 6, 7, 8 feet tall. Good stuff. Okay, I'm going to show you how to process this arrowweed. It's green, and what I've done is I made a little PVC pipe with a water bottle, real chintzy. Just a cap on one end, little cup length, little water bottle on there. And what I'm going to do is pour some water. It already has some glue in it. Just use Elmer's white glue, or you can use the Elmer's clear glue. Works just the same. Put a bunch of that in there. Now, if you don't process the arrowweed right, it'll check or crack, and you'll get splits all the way up the arrowweed. So you have about a day or two, maybe 3 days after you cut it, that you want to get this done. So what I'll do is dip that arrowweed in there and get it all covered in glue. Make sure there's a nice fine coating of glue and water on there. And you let it set to dry. It's a lot easier doing it this way than painting it on. Now, in the olden days, let me dump this out. They didn't carry a bottle of Elmer's glue around with them, so they got by the campfire. Here's my campfire. And they would have taken the green arrowweed and would have burned the ends really well. Make sure you char them. And then they would have burned the skin. Of course, it's kind of a breezy day today, so it's going to take a few minutes longer here. And I've heard a friend of mine out of the Fort Mojave Reservation was telling me one of the elders out there was talking about how they used to burn the arrowweed, and that would keep the wood from cracking, or the shafts from cracking. And so I had ran across a field of arrowweed that had been burnt in a fire probably a couple of months before I had got there. And I started picking some of the arrowweed, and none of it had checks in it. None of it had any kind of cracking or splitting. Most of it was pretty good stuff. It was just all burnt. And the good thing about charring the outer skin is as the wood shrinks inside, the bark tends to kind of peel away from arrowweed. If anybody has ever messed with arrowweed, a lot of times that arrowweed bark sticks to the arrowweed really, really good, and it's a real booger bear to get off. It takes a while. But anyways, you would just keep charring this stick till it's all pretty much blackened all the way around, bottom to top. Then what I end up doing after that is I bundle a bunch of them together and let them sit for about 3 or 4 months. Now, most of these have all been glued. It's just a little bit easier than sitting here burning them all, but back in the ancient times, this is probably one of the ways they did it. The other way of getting arrowweed is harvesting dead stand. A lot of times if the plant dies or freezes in the wintertime, it will dry a lot slower that way, and it prevents it from cracking. But if you go and hack it down and expect to get a good arrow out of it, it will split all to pieces. Anyways, that's how I do it. I believe that's how it was done in ancient times, besides the gluing technique.